Going to look at how to study the distribution of plants in a particular area. And you wouldn't have enough time to count all the plants, and instead we're going to look at a technique that counts a representative number in a smaller area. So one of the techniques is called a point transect, and you're going to place a tape measure in a straight line randomly across your area under investigation. And you'll note what you see at different points, for example, 1 meter intervals in a larger area, 5 meter intervals. And with your audit, consider how well does a point transect represent the plants, in this case in the section of a backyard. When might one of these be more useful? And you can repeat the transects at 5 meter distance from each one, so the tape measure strips 5 meters apart, again with 1 point intervals. And how would that, repeating the transects, improve the plant audit in your backyard? Then a little activity for you, specifically in room 303, and you place a tape measure in a straight line randomly across the lab. This is your transect. And then you pick points, 1 meter intervals, and you can list what you see at each of them. And does this transect represent what's present in the lab? Reasonably, give your reasons why or why not. And then there are other samplings with quadrat squares. Divide the whole area into quadrat-sized square units, and then just write the numbers on paper, draw lots. So it's the larger square that you're putting over your large area. Or you can throw, if it's durable enough, you can throw the quadrat square, but not where people are. Or systematic sampling. So you place your tape measure for a distance of 10 meters or whatever in the area and the direction required, and to start off with, that indeed can be random, and then place the quadrat square every 2 meters or 1 meter along the tape and record what's in there. So quadrats discover populations and the spread of different species in an ecosystem, used for plants, relatively sessile animals, because if they're moving a lot it's not going to be useful, and some marine or aquatic activities. So for the one that you're going to do outside, know the particular dangers, wear appropriate clothing, and if appropriate, wear sunscreen. Pause to read those carefully. And then your equipment, to include a notepad or pencil to draw, or a camera to photograph, but you need to record data of what you're going to see in each of the smaller squares in the larger quadrat square.
Do you have something to write with?
Yes.
If you want to take notes directly into your document, that's fine too. I'm okay with that. All right, which group's doing it from the past?
One side is like metric and one is not. Hey, that's a good slide. Look again. There, no, stop. Go back. 21 and 22.
I found another plant.
Wait.
This is trial 1.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So what are you going to do with the transect to do trial 2?
Okay.
Move it.
So there's.
You're going to have to just
8,
I mean, you could
9,
do that. That's a slightly different
10,
question.
11, 12,
But yes,
13,
you
14,
could do
15,
that.
16, 17, 18, 19.
But what you're currently
20,
doing
21.
is
Yeah.
That's what it does.
And any
It's like
different species.
Right.
That's the other one you're looking for.
25 different. 4. That's so effective. I'm like mowing like a lot. It's like in the ground too. There's only one plant and it just has a bunch of leaves. That's kind of like good. I feel like if the plant was like kind of like this, and it would definitely be on.
Yeah. So I'm doing, okay, so the second row, yes, so that one's a yes.
So basic, this one, would you say this? Cause like these are like dead basically. And only here is there actually.
But I mean, that's just more of like an environmental factor as opposed to the anything from the road.
This one. This one's not. This is not. I think.
And the abundance, going to look at the number of plants in your given area, or estimate the area covered in your quadrant squares by a type of plant, the plant frequency, and identify which plants are in each quadrant. Percentage frequency, number of quadrat segments with a particular species, and over the total number of quadrat segments. Your local frequency, just count the number of squares, for example, with at least half occupied by plants. And your count number equals your local frequency. You could compare biomass by clipping right down to ground level and massing the clippings for each square, and you've got to bag them and label them really carefully. And quadrat square investigations can be repeated after desired intervals, maybe hours, but more likely weeks, months, or years, to give a look at a changing ecology. So, some points to ponder. So you can pause this to read the question and answer them about the ecosystems and the survey that you did. How does it compare to other items? and also look at Quadrat surveys in practice, one with the National Park Service, and then one in British Columbia spruce forests in Canada. And spruce was used to build the Wright Flyer 1903 and many other subsequent airplanes, good for violins, parts of pianos, house construction, and again, lots of other uses. And many thanks to Washington International School and the students in Ms. Shaw's class.